I do remember, Jafar, in Spain, after the second conference, I told you, João and I, we told you both, Jafar, we are also co-founders of the T Forum, together with Napoli and Balearic Islands. So after Italy, after Spain, it must be Portugal, it must be the Algarve. And I'm quite pleased that you accepted our suggestion. My third words go to Cintures and Pestana Group. Congratulations for the so good organization. You have been doing a superb work. Of course, backing that work, we have the Faculty of Economics and also the School of Management, Hospitality and Tourism. So I congratulate Patricia and also Pedro Lopes for the work they have been doing. I do remember when I suggested that they should organize the conference, I think it was a wise decision to do so. So I'm quite proud of this work. Lastly, but not most important, but not less important, I would like to introduce our speaker because the time is short. So, Professor João Albino Silva is the president of the Scientific Committee of the Faculty of Economics and also a preeminent member of the Cintures. I could say many things, many wonderful things about our speaker, but I don't resist to say just two, because time is short. João Albino is the first PhD holder in Portugal in tourism economics, and that is something remarkable. Last century, of course. Also, he is the coordinator of the tourism research agenda in our country. So, a very well-known expert on tourism research. João, the stage is yours. I hope everybody can enjoy your magnificent presentation. I've been through it and I compliment you for that.
Good afternoon, dear participants. It is a great pleasure and an honor for me to be there with you, of course, from here, with all of you. I'm grateful to the Dean of our School of Economics, my friend and colleague, Professor Ifigênio Rebelo, for his kind words. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to share with you some of the results of works in which I have participated with other Portuguese colleagues related to research and innovation in Portugal and the performance of our most important tourist destination, the Algarve region. These works intend to underline a double perspective of intervention in our country. We need to reflect in order to act at the national level, but it is important to measure in order to manage at regional level. In my presentation, the first point relates to the construction of a research and innovation agenda for tourism in Portugal. The second and third points focus on the Algarve as a destination, presenting an effort to monitor it as an instrument for integrated and holistic management. Let me start with the research and innovation agenda for Portugal for the 2030 horizon. The objective of this agenda is to inspire the research to be developed in this area of knowledge in the coming years in Portugal. In February 2019, after almost 2 years of preparation, the research and innovation agenda in tourism, leisure and hospitality for Portugal was published by the Foundation for Science and Technology. The main objectives are to inspire the research to be developed in this area of knowledge in the coming years, to identify major areas for future development and key research and innovation issues. But it is important to stress that in methodological terms, it was a bottom-up approach with the involvement of the scientific, technological, and business tourism community. The agenda takes into account exogenous constraints, namely the great contemporary social dynamics as globalization, technology, security, demographic and climate change, and integration of the sustainable development in tourism. In the scope of this agenda, 8 domains were identified in terms of research and innovation. As you can see, culture and globalization, territories and resources, behaviors and profiles, social innovation, enterprises, organizations and markets, competitiveness, technological innovation, and sustainability. These domains consist of broad umbrellas encompassing challenges, goals, and key questions identified in the double strands of research and innovation of needs. Let me show some examples. With territories and resources, the aim is to study problems related to the qualification of landscapes, evaluation and monitoring of the impacts on the territories. So it means, for example, in terms of research and innovation challenges, we will have, we hope, studies about flows and touristic dynamics, occupation models, gentrification, carrying capacity, modeling and spatial analysis, or in terms of innovation, regional innovation systems, natural catastrophes, and social impacts. But with sustainability, the agenda suggests a discussion regarding the issues of the relationship between tourism and sustainable development, and to investigate the interactions between tourism, environment, and local communities. Research and innovation are linked with heritage, environmental and cultural and social sustainability, and internalization of environmental cost, or assessment and management of the tourist activity impact, and awareness of the supply agents and the demand actors. When we talk about culture and globalization, investigation local presence in the production of a global culture without losing identities is the main goal in culture and globalization, with some research challenges linked, for example, with the impacts of globalization on the Portuguese tourism, valorization and affirmation of the destination's identity, or valorization of the Portuguese cultural heritage. Improving knowledge of Portugal's competitive factors will be the main goal of this domain. It is mean, for example, that the research challenges are linked with tourism value chain and re-engineering of products and destinations, the qualification and employment, or the contest costs, entrepreneurship, business, and models. Finally, in our examples, the goal is in behaviors and profiles is the knowledge of demographic changes, values, and lifestyles. It means that research challenges are linked with co-creative experiences, profiles, segments, and behaviors towards the sustainable development of destinations or the participation tourism segments with disabilities. But the highly matrix nature of this agenda reflects the systemic and complex nature of tourism, the density of interconnections between some of the domains allows us to group them around 3 clusters, or if you prefer, constellations. Without being exhaustive, this first figure allows us to identify some of the relationships between culture, behavior, and social innovation suggested by the density of interconnections between these domains and set of questions, keywords identified within the scope of those domains. In this cluster, the continuum between research and innovation is reflected in concerns such as inclusion and identity, for example. In cluster 2, competitiveness, enterprises, organizations, and markets, and technological innovation, the continuum between research and innovation is manifested around the qualification of employment, infrastructures, and the qualification of the experience. And in this cluster, a continuum between the domains of innovation is also present, namely with regards to loyalty and distribution and booking issues. In cluster 3, territories and resources and sustainability, the continuum is very clear between the areas of research and innovation. Territories and resources focuses on the issues of territorial synergies, the preservation of tourist sectors and security. Similarly, heritage, quality of life, and participation dominate the interactions between research and innovation for sustainability. Transversal to the fields of the research and innovation as a whole, the issues associated with governance, it means participation, for example, the circular economy and regional innovation systems stand out. Let me go to the second point, measure in order to manage. In the last 10 years, I have had the privilege of working, and I still work with brilliant colleagues from the University of Algarve in the development of models that allow for the observing and monitoring the Algarve region. I will present some of these results and what we'll be doing, fortunately, in the coming years. The first model was linked with quality management. The purpose of this study was to establish a conceptual model that allows for the measurement of the quality of tourist destinations, taking into consideration the concepts of governance and sustainability besides the tourist experience. In this sense, the study proposed a holistic index aiming to evaluate the quality of destinations from their multiple perspectives. According to the proposed index, the performance of a destination depends on these three main dimensions, each one measured by a set of dimensions and indicators. I would like to express my gratitude to my colleagues, Dora Agapito and Patricia Pinto. We were working hard in this model. Thank you, colleagues and friends, Patricia and Dora. Let me show you some results in the next slides. Beginning with the tourist experience. In the case of the Algarve, the final result is 0.897. The observed value in this dimension is 89.6% of the ideal value. Therefore, it is not very far from the optimum. It is 1. This figure compares the observed and the optimal values. The largest gap between the observed and the optimal situation, of course, I think you can see in the satisfaction sub-dimension. In terms of governance of the Algarve, the final result is 0.384, which is very distant from the optimum. Unfortunately, this figure also compares the observed and the optimal values. The largest gap is in the effectiveness sub-dimension. So the observed value in this dimension is 38.4% of the ideal value, is really far. The sustainability dimension score in the case of the Algarve is 60% of the ideal value. The biggest gap occurs in the economic sub-dimension. Finally, this figure compares the observed overall destination quality index and its partial results in the 3 dimensions for the Algarve with the optimum situation. Well, if the overall result is positive and moderately good, it means that with these results, the region still needed to invest more in improving its quality, especially concerning the governance and sustainability indicators. The best results were achieved in the tourist experience dimension, which almost approximates the ideal situation. Another project in our region is the Algarve Sustainable Tourism Observatory, created in 2019 by the University of Algarve with 3 more partners: Tourism of Portugal, Regional Tourist Board, and Regional Commission for Development. I thank you for my colleagues, Luís Pereira, Jorge Andrade and Rui Nunes, who went to work hard, but with very, very good results. Thank you for them. Observatory's mission is to support the continuous improvement of the sustainability of tourism in the Algarve. As a member of the United Nations World Tourism Organization International Network of Sustainable Tourism, the following 11 areas have been identified as mandatory to be monitored. At this moment, we are doing efforts to measure the economic sustainability with indicators linked with seasonality, employment, and economic benefits. the social sustainability with local satisfaction and accessibility and inclusion, the environmental sustainability with energy management, water management, wastewater, solid waste management, and CO emissions. And finally, the institutional sustainability with the indicator governance. Dear participants, my friends, the last point is about the future. These are the next challenges of our team in our university for the next years, at least for the next 3 years, to build a conceptual framework in which the dimensions of sustainability development, quality of destinations, competitiveness, innovation, and well-being, among others, are fully considered, but it is necessary at this moment to reanalyze the critical areas for evaluating a tourist destination in the face of societal challenges we are faced, and even by the tourist industry. But we need, and we want to build an evaluation model to measure and monitor the development of tourism in the Algarve. And finally, it is our commitment to build a decision support system for the observation and continuous monitoring of the dynamics of the tourism activity. So our objective is to transfer this knowledge for the stakeholders and our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor João Albino. I would ask, because we still have 5 minutes to go, if someone wants to ask a question to Professor João Albino.
It will be a pleasure. Professor Jafari, how are you? Thank you for being with us, always.
Sure, with pleasure. Yes, I may ask a question. Has your model and your observatory performances been compared with the same in a different countries, such as Spain or Italy or France? And how does it how do you assess the comparison?
Thank you, Professor. Yes, we have two possibilities to compare with other destinations. One is with the network that we have in World Tourism Organization. So we are a member of a network with other destinations. So when I presented that 11 mandatory issues, it means that we are comparing these issues with other destinations. We are today about 40 destinations in this network, Professor. So that's important to compare. That's right. So we are going to compare our results mainly in that environmental issues, those 11 mandatory issues, as I mentioned before: economic, social, environmental, and institutional issues. That's one kind of comparison. Another one, we are working in another model, so in a more holistic and integrated perspective. So that's our next, in parallel with the other exercise, to compare with the others. We think we need to go deep in this holistic monitoring. So we need more dimensions. As I mentioned, quality, for example, competitiveness, for example. So I think we need to go deeply in this exercise. So the second, we are experienced to build another model, and we will be very happy if we can join forces with other destinations, with other colleagues, with other even business and research entities. I don't know if I answered to your question, Professor. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And in reference to the conference, which is Bridging Theory and Practice, to what extent your research team collaborates with the industry, one, and to what extent the results are shared and celebrated between the industry and academia and government?
What an excellent question again, my dear friend. Yes, our observatory that we began last year, it is a partnership with the Pestana Group, with all the industry in our region. So we also have in that structure, well, I did not put here many details, of course, the time is scarce, but we have a local group to link the research with the enterprises and to find the best indicators to go through the market, of course. With your inspiration, well, I hope we can share our ideas with you, Professor, here in Algarve, soon as possible.
Well, you're sharing it with a large audience, and that's the most important part.
Thank you, Jafar. Thank you, João. I think we run out of time now, so we have a new session coming. And I remember those who are attending that you have to use a different link because the room won't be this one. So change the room, please, and follow the next talk.
Thank you for everybody. And thank you, Professor Efigênio.
Thank you.